Hello friends and neighbors, welcome to Pipe Chats with Josh. I'm Bob. No, I'm still Josh. So I recognize that I have changed this channel name twice now, and I'll tell you exactly why I did that. The first channel name, some of you, many of you remember, was Blind Piper, and I changed that name for two reasons. I had changed Blind Piper to Gentry Vintage for one, as someone who's severely visually impaired. I didn't want the word blind to define who I am. Unfortunately, when you throw that in there, that's the first thing that people think of and the first thing people see about you, and so forth. And I didn't want that word to box me in, if you will. And I wanted to move away from that. It's who I am, but it's not all that I am. And unfortunately, we live in a world where when someone has a disability or something, that tends to be the one thing that people seem to focus on, and that's not what defines me. So I had changed it to Gentry Vintage for that reason, and for the reason that I wanted to start featuring some other interests of mine into the channel as well, other than just pipes and pipe smoking. I wanted to start featuring some other interests and hobbies of mine. However, for the most part, this channel has remained predominantly pipe and tobacco related. I've put a couple things in here and there that are other topic related. Some of it was well received, some of it didn't really get much traction, and I just took it down. I've learned over the, wow, over a year and a half now, that most people come to this channel to see pipes and tobacco and hear me babble about something. They don't really come here to see the other things I might be interested in, which is cool. That's why the good Lord and the YouTube people made it possible to have more than one channel. I didn't know the wind was going to kick up like this, right? I'd brought the Zippo out. So, a few months ago, I did create another channel to feature my record collection, vintage music, and so forth. I did create a channel to do that. So that channel will remain just strictly records out of my collection. Is pretty much all that's going to be on that channel, or at least something pertaining to that. This channel is going to remain focused on pipes and tobacco and me babbling about whatever while you have a pipe. Also, as I do things in my life, side hustle kind of stuff, and whatever it may be, the Gentry Vintage name is associated with some other things in this world, and I felt as though I should separate it from the pipe and tobacco stuff in case somebody was out there doing a deep dive or something and got a little confused. Not that I'm hiding anything, it's just trying to keep the concentration of subjects separate, I guess. But like I said, most people come to this channel to see pipe and tobacco related stuff, and that's cool. So that's what we're going to keep it. So now we're pipes, what is it? Pipe Chats with Josh. There's a chance in the future I might fire up another Gentry Vintage channel to feature things that are not pipe and tobacco related. But for the time being, I'm doing good enough to try to get videos up on this channel, and as well as the music channel, so we're going to stick with those two. Man, my yard guy just came by this morning and chopped up all these leaves out here, and now the wind's kicking up and blowing more leaves around. And my neighbor's got some trees way over there that hadn't shedded leaves yet. Most of ours have, but oh well, it's that time of year. You can't stop it. Oh. with all that said, I'm not going to spend 20 minutes talking about why I changed the channel name, but today I am smoking my Peterson 305, and in it today I'm actually smoking some Seattle Pipe Club's Gentleman Rum Vanilla. I haven't smoked this blend in quite a while. It's funny how when we start pipe smoking, the taste that we have, and as we move further into our pipe journey, how our taste changes somewhat. I still enjoy this blend, but it's not something that I go to a lot. Lately, I gravitate more towards blends that are not aromatic, not flavored, I guess. For the most part, you know, my go-to weekly blends are Carter Hall, Prince Albert, Wessex Burley, and I occasionally, on a Friday night or something, I pull out the H.H. Burley Flake. Last night I had some Elizabethan mixture. I don't know, those are just the things, the natural tobacco flavors is stuff I kind of gravitate more towards these days. Oh, I left one of the major players out, which technically it does have a topping on it. I think it's like a plum topping if I recall, but Exhausted Rooster is something I smoke quite a bit nowadays. That's a blend I really enjoy. That's about as aromatic as I like to get nowadays. However, every now and then, you know, something that's a little sweet or something, it's nice. Something, I'm trying to cut back on all the sugar and so forth, and sometimes you know, sweeter blend, something that's got a little bit of a topping on it or something, it hits the spot. But yeah, it's interesting though how your taste changes over time as you advance into your pipe journey. And some people smoke what they started out with, and that's cool. Some people still smoke aromatics all the time, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with liking what you like, regardless of what it is. To each their own. Before I go any further in this video, I just want to mention, I'm not going to go into detail or anything because that's his story to tell, but I just want to mention that Paladin Piper's dad passed away recently. If you follow Paladin Piper, which you should be, if you're not, you better be, he is definitely one of the best pipe presenters out there for sure, and a great guy and a good friend. But Paladin's dad has been ill for some time, and unfortunately he passed away last week. So definitely keep him in your thoughts and prayers for sure. And I know he's gonna try to get a video out sometime soon and kind of update people on what's going on. But I'm not gonna go into anything else. Like I said, that's not my place. But I did want to let people know that his dad had passed away, and just keep him in your thoughts and prayers. So, happy Veterans Day, by the way. For those of you that have served, thank you for your service. My dad was in the Army. 3 of my dad's brothers were in the Army. My mom's brother was in the Air Force, and my cousin was a Navy SEAL, and I probably have other family that was military that I'm not thinking of off the top of my head. My boss and my supervisor were both military. My supervisor was in the Marines, and my boss is retired from the Air Force after 32 years as a chief master mechanic. But yeah, military is something I feel very strongly about. Years ago, I used to have my dad's Army jacket, and I don't know whatever happened to that. I do have all my dad's Army medals and dog tags and so forth, but I don't know whatever happened to his Army jacket that I had. So I'm trying to figure out how this blend has, well, it's been in a jar. I don't know how different it would be in a unopened sealed tin, but this particular blend has been in a jar for over a year, and it's kind of hard for me to tell right now how it's cellared. I don't remember what the last thing I smoked in this pipe was, so I can't tell if it's lost flavor or if it's just blending with something else that was in here. I'm not really sure. So did anybody do anything for Halloween this year? We normally just come home and pass out candy to the 2 or 3 trick-or-treaters that we get, if we get any, and find something to watch on TV, and that's about it. This year, we actually got out and spent some time with. I met my wife and one of her co-workers and his son, and another close friend of ours. We all met up on the other end of town. There's it's a historical area, and there's a street that is known for decorating, for like going all out for Halloween. It's a tradition over there on this street, and it's gotten so big and crazy over the years. This year the police shut the street down from, I think it was 5 to 9, and they were actually making you get a ticket. You didn't have to pay anything. It was a free ticket, just so they could kind of crowd control. And I think said they were shutting it off at like 5,000 people or something like that. But it was just, like I said, for crowd control, because it's just gotten so crazy, so many people over the past few years. But it's big, historical, nice houses with big, nice trees. Real pretty street, and it's just been a tradition for, I don't know how it started, but it's been a tradition for years that people on that street decorate for Halloween and just go big. Not everybody does it, but for the most part, I'd say 90% of the houses on that street probably do. But so we met up after work about 4 o'clock-ish, and decided to walk through and look at things while it was still daylight and before the crowd hit. And then we all went over to a restaurant in the area and had dinner and fellowshipped a little bit, and then went our separate ways and came home. And I'll have like I said, we usually get 2 or 3 trick-or-treaters if we're lucky. This year the camera was going off like crazy while we were eating, and even our neighbor came over Saturday morning, and she said, I bet we had 40 trick-or-treaters last night. And I said, one time we're not home, we would. She said she thinks it's probably due to, she's noticed a lot of younger families moving in the neighborhood. She gets out and walks the dog, and she's nosy, so. But she's been noticing a lot more kids and younger families in the neighborhood lately, so that's probably what it is. There's an elementary school just right up the street, which could have something to do with younger families moving in. I don't know. I say that school's been around forever. Why they just now would, I don't know. So scratch what I just said. But anyway, we had a good time. I'm glad. We might have to make a tradition of that ourselves. That was fun. Yeah, I enjoyed that. Had some snowflakes yesterday. Some places saw a little bit of a dusting. We didn't really. It came down heavy a couple times during the day, but it didn't really start sticking or nothing. Ground's too warm for all that, but it was pretty. I've been off today for Veterans Day and been trying to do a few honey-do things around the house, and trying to do a little house cleaning and different stuff. And thought about going out to the shop, trying to do some things, but it's cold outside, and I don't feel like firing the heaters up out there, and stay in the house and stay warm, and turned on some music and just been trying to get some things done in the house. See, weekend before last, weekend before last, I guess that would have been Halloween weekend. I went and picked up a big old tote full of records. A friend of mine reached out to me a few weeks ago and asked me if I was still collecting records. I said, well, yeah. And she said, well, my husband had a bunch of records, and she said, we've been trying to clean out the garage and stuff, and they're at a friend's house right now. She had a friend that was going to come pick them up, that was going to put them in a booth at Antique Mall. And for whatever reason, that person never showed up to get them. And she said, as far as I know, they're still over there at her house. She said, if you're interested in them, she said, let me reach out, make sure she still got them, and you can have them. I said, well, I'll pay you for them. You know, what do you want for them? And she said, I don't want nothing for them. I just want them gone, and I want my empty tote back. I said, okay. I said, well, just keep me updated. So she reached out to me actually on Halloween. Reached out to me and said, they're still over there at our friend's house, and she told me to go ahead and give you her phone number and her address and just text her whenever you're on the way. She'll be home all weekend. And I told her again, I said, I'll pay you for these records. You know, you don't have to give them away. She said, no. She said, I just want you to enjoy them. Do what you want to with them. So went over and picked all that up. And her one stipulation was she wanted her tote back. I said, I can definitely do that. So I took me a tote over there myself and switched them out. But only bad thing about going to pick up a tote full of records that you don't know anything about is it's quite a gamble. You can end up with a tote full of records that nobody wants, that nobody listens to, or you can end up with some pretty good gems, or it can be a mixture. You just don't know. And I even asked her if she knew what was in there, and she said, I don't know. But she said, knowing my husband and his music taste, she said, I'd venture to say there's some pretty good stuff in there. I said, well, you know, I'll take your word for it. She was right. There's some pretty good stuff in there. While it's not necessarily stuff that's in my wheelhouse, it's definitely good stuff, desirable stuff. There were several Kiss albums in there, AC/DC, Journey, just a lot of 70s and 80s classic rock kind of stuff. A few country and gospel, a handful of those, which were there was some pretty decent stuff in that. And of course, that's more my wheelhouse, you know, country and bluegrass. No bluegrass, but there were a few country. And the country that was in there, like I said, was pretty good stuff. Hank Williams Jr., a couple of Kenny Rogers. Luckily, they were the good Kenny Rogers records. What else was in there? I forget right now. in the country things. Let's see. I think there was a couple gospel, couple Stamps quartet, I believe. Anyway, there was some pretty decent stuff in there. Ordinarily, I don't sell records. Usually the only time I do is if it's stuff that's just not anything that I would be interested in, and I'm trying to find something else. Usually if I sell a record, I sell that and take that money and put it towards something that I'm wanting for my collection. Records are, like I said, it's a big gamble. Some of the things that you would think would be worth good money, they're really not. Every once in a while you find something that you don't think's worth anything, and it might be, but that's even rarer. It's kind of one of those things that, for a lot of it, it's kind of one of those things you got to just find the right person that's looking for something. I might end up selling a few of those just because, like I said, they're not really in my wheelhouse. If the wife lets me. There was stuff in there that's some of the 80s rock stuff that she went nuts over. That's kind of more her thing. So she might make me put some of that in what she calls her collection. She has a small section of records in my collection that's the Beatles and Frank Sinatra and you know, some other random stuff. But some of those 80s rock might end up in her section. But some of the other stuff I might turn loose, like I said, to find stuff that I'm looking for to add to my collection. What I really need to do when I get time one day, I really need to organize my records. somewhat organized, but I need to figure out a way that I want to categorize them where I can pull out exactly what I'm looking for without pulling out 10. I'm not good at alphabetizing things, but I need to figure out my own little system. Anyway, friends, I think that's about all I got for now. I seen Smoking Pipes has been throwing some sales out there recently. Nothing of major interest to me at this time, but considering they keep throwing sales out there, you never know. They might come out with, they might throw something out there that'll be of interest. So I've been keeping my eye out on that. So, hope everybody's doing well. Before I came out here, it said it was 40 degrees outside. It actually don't feel all that bad. Where I'm sitting, I'm not in the wind, so that helps. But I don't know. I hate winter. I hate cold weather, but I love fall, so I'm not complaining. But anywho, hope everybody's doing well. And hopefully we'll get another video out here in the next couple of days. In the meantime, I wish blessings for all and lots of luck to you and yours.